All right, welcome to Note Taking for Dummies. We're going to talk about a bunch of different ways to take notes, why to take notes, and talk about some study habits that will really help you in your academic ventures. A lot of kids that I teach, they don't know how to take notes. They're not confident in it, and so they don't do it, which is a mistake. A lot, nobody. Well, unless you have photographic memory, then I'll give you a pass. You don't need to take notes. But if you don't have photographic memory, you're going to need to take notes at some point in your life. And there are a bunch of different ways. You can find a way that suits your learning style, which is why I'm going to talk about a bunch of different styles of note taking. The first one being the Cornell Method, which was developed by a professor at Cornell University, and it works really well. So to get started, our objective: understand the importance of effective note taking and learn how to use the Cornell method. Um, you'll probably want to have a way to take notes, a notebook, or if you want to be on Google Docs or some other note taking app, um, that would be helpful. We're talking about note taking. Let's practice taking notes, right? Uh, First of all, what the heck is note taking? Obviously, this is when you're in a learning situation, you're in a lecture, you're in class, you're reading a book, you're learning about something. Um, a lot of the process of note taking we're going to talk about potentially takes place after that learning experience. So when you're revising, focus on content. Make sure that everything that you do in the note taking process is strengthening your understanding of a topic. If you're preparing to write an essay, make sure that you have all the evidence you need to support your thesis. If you are preparing for an exam, make sure you know the main topics. So note taking, it's not just putting down exactly what you hear word for word. You're never going to write down word for word what you hear, except for maybe some snippets, some cool quotes that you wanted to take from a lesson. Um, but always be getting deeper into the topic that you're learning about with your note taking. So talk about the Cornell method. There's going to be three things that we're going to talk about. So think of dividing your section into these three. I'll show you an example here in just a second. You're going to have your main notes. You're going to have your cues, which are going to be like clarifying questions to the side of your notes. And then after all of that, after the lecture, reading, whatever you're learning about, then you're going to write your summary, which is really important. So in your notes section, write down the main points. Write down the main things that you're going to want to remember. Um, you don't necessarily have to understand everything that you're writing down. Maybe your teacher is talking about some kind of obscure form of literary analysis, and you don't quite get it. So you just write down more or less what they say. Again, don't worry about getting it word for word. Just kind of get what they're saying in broad strokes, even if you don't understand it. Coming to understand it could potentially come later, either with your own research or clarifying with your teacher. But just write down the things that you're going to need to remember in your notes section. To the side of your notes section, that's where you're going to have your cues section. Again, think of these as questions. And you could do this section either during the learning session or after the learning session. It's going to be potentially more effective after the learning session, because that's also going to help you with reviewing the information that you're talking about. But write down questions, get deeper into the topics that you're learning about. Again, all of this is getting deeper into understanding the topics that you're learning about. After you're done with all of this, that's when you're going to summarize the things you learned about. Summary should be, all the main details, should be all of the main things you're trying to take from that learning session. Again, this is going to be a form of review. It's all helping the information get lodged into your brain a lot better. So that will be really good. Just to show you an example, I watched a YouTube video, which you could do for practice for this. I watched a YouTube video about the hero's journey. The hero's journey is this thing in storytelling which I talk about in my creative writing class if you want to go check that out. But I watched a video about the hero's journey. I took a bunch of notes on it. So you can see this is my notes section. I kind of just did some buried information about the different steps in the hero's journey. I wrote clarifying questions, things that I don't quite yet understand, or if I wanted to learn a little bit more about. One of the questions I asked it during my note-taking session. So again, with your cues, you can either do them during or after your note-taking session. So I asked the question, and then it actually got answered later on in the video. So I answered it right there. You could also do the same thing where you write the answers underneath the questions later on, if you like. And then after all of it, I wrote down a quick little summary, kind of just breaking these smaller steps into sections to help me to remember what goes on with the hero's journey. So that's the first page. Just to get a little bit, if you want to look a little bit closer, I've got this on the slideshow. You can go and review. Can read that a little bit better. Got the whole page zoomed in a little bit. Okay. So Cornell Method, I want you to go and practice it. Again, we're going to be talking about a lot of different kinds of note-taking methods. You're going to find one that works better for you, but I still want you to try them out. So go onto YouTube, choose a lecture on a topic you're interested, go read something that you're interested about, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter so much, but just practice doing the Cornell method. Split your paper into these sections, take your initial notes, ask them questions, and summarize. Upload that to the class, I'll be able to have a look at it and hopefully give you some feedback. So, very good. Next, we'll be talking about another form of note-taking.